Hello.
Hi,
Hello, good evening. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so I will share my screen now. Can you see my share screen?
Mm, yes, I can.
Okay. Yes. Okay, in the last lesson, we just discussed in task 4, which is worked out on task 4 listening part, and we finished this one already. And today we're gonna move on to task 5 and task 6. For the first one, we're gonna finish this one for the listening part. So because the listening part is quite long, so we have to save this one in this lesson. And after listening, we're gonna have a reading part. So listening and then reading. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna do this one. Listen and match speakers from number 1 to number 4 with sentences from A to E. So there's one extra sentence, so you don't need to match from you don't need to match in on an extra sentence. So for example, the A is not for any speakers, so it would be extra sentence, or B and C and D as well. And if you don't understand every word that the speaker says, you don't need, you don't remember not to worry if you don't understand, because as I mentioned earlier in the last lesson, I just told you to, to remember the key points in the main part of the lesson. You don't need to hear all of the detail, all of the words that they say. Remember to catch the key point, the keyword. Okay. Now let's listen and check and do this task.
Lesson 5C, Exercise 5. 1.
I love it here. You can walk in the woods along the river near my village. An advantage of living in the country is that the people are much friendlier and there's less crime. We don't even lock the car at night. And we often leave the house unlocked when we are out during the day. I think people should move out of the cities and find a better life in the country.
2.
Why are so many people moving out of cities to find a new life in the country? Is it because life is so much easier in the country than in the town? Because it's quieter and less stressful and houses are much cheaper? Or are there other reasons? Listen to In the Country tonight at 8 when we interview people who are thinking of moving and ask them why.
3. It's really lovely where I live. It's very pretty, and there are trees and a hill just behind my house. If you like a quiet life, it's a really great place to live. But one disadvantage is that life is a bit boring here. There isn't much going on in the village, and there aren't many young people around. So I often go into the city at weekends with my friends. It isn't far, and there's always something to do there. One day, I'd like to move away from here. 4.
There's lots to do, of course, much more than in the country. It's good that you can go to the cinema and theatre, and there are lots of shops. But to be honest, I hardly ever go to the cinema or theatre. I prefer watching DVDs at home and I hate shopping. What I really hate about the town is that it's very busy, very noisy, and quite dirty. I'd rather live somewhere cleaner and more peaceful.
Okay, so that's it for the listening part. Have you got all the answers, or do you want to listen one more time?
I want to listen again.
Okay, so we have 2 times to listen. So it's going to be the last time.
Lesson 5C. Exercise 5. 1.
I love it here. You can walk in the woods along the river near my village. An advantage of living in the country is that the people are much friendlier and there's less crime. We don't even lock the car at night. And we often leave the house unlocked when we are out during the day. I think people should move out of the cities and find a better life in the country.
2.
Why are so many people moving out of cities to find a new life in the country? Is it because life is so much easier in the country than in the town? Because it's quieter and less stressful and houses are much cheaper? Or are there other reasons? Listen to In the Country tonight at 8 when we interview people who are thinking of moving and ask them why.
3. It's really lovely where I live. It's very pretty, and there are trees and a hill just behind my house. If you like a quiet life, it's a really great place to live. But one disadvantage is that life is a bit boring here. There isn't much going on in the village, and there aren't many young people around. So I often go into the city at weekends with my friends. It isn't far, and there's always something to do there. One day, I'd like to move away from here. 4.
There's lots to do, of course, much more than in the country. It's good that you can go to the cinema and theatre, and there are lots of shops. But to be honest, I hardly ever go to the cinema or theatre. I prefer watching DVDs at home, and I hate shopping. What I really hate about the town is that it's very busy, very noisy, and quite dirty. I'd rather live somewhere cleaner and more peaceful.
Okay, that's it. So the answer for A, B, and C and D. So the first person, which sentence that he or she mentioned? The first person.
It's personal. For
Yes.
for
So we have four people. We have four speakers. So the first speaker that he or she mentioned in which sentence? Like for A, for example, the first person say A or say B or say C or say D.
B.
The first one is B. So you think that the first speaker is encouraging people to come and live in the country. So I'm going to put 1 here. Okay. How about the second person?
And the second person is I think it's E.
So the second person, E, you mean so the second person would like to have a house in the city and one in the country too. So I'm put 2 here.
And
The third
the
person,
C.
the person would be C. Okay. And the last one.
I think it's A.
Okay, so A would be the fourth pick speaker. Okay, now let's listen again and check the answer.
Lesson 5C, Episode 5. 1.
I love it here. You can walk in the woods along the river near my village. An advantage of living in the country is that the people are much friendlier.
Okay, so the advantage of living in the country is people are friendlier. So he mentioned about the advantages living in the country, which is people are very friendly. So in five sentences here, so we just see that the sentence B mentioned about the people that live in the country. Okay, so the first person is encouraging people to come and live in the country because the advantage of living in the country is people are friendlier.
And there's less crime. We don't even lock the car at night.
Okay, so and less crime. They don't even lock the door. Okay, so these are the advantages. Like the people are friendlier, less crime, because they are, they don't have to lock the door.
We often leave the house unlocked when we are out during the day. I think people should move out of the cities and find a better life in the country.
Okay, so people should leave out.
So many.
Okay, so people should leave the city and find a better place, like live in the country. Okay, so the first person is B.
People moving out of cities to find a new life in the country. Is it because life is so much easier in the country than in the town? It's quieter and less stressful, and houses are much cheaper? Or are there other reasons? Listen to In the Country tonight at 8 when we interview people who are thinking of moving and ask them why.
Okay, so the woman here is interviewing a person about why they live in the country, ask about some advantages that they should live in the country or they should live in the city. So it is a radio program because they are going to interview a person. So the second person would be advertising a radio program. Okay, because they are in a program. So I will put 2 here. Okay, is that okay? Do you understand?
No.
Okay, so you should tell me, or I suppose that you understand. Okay, let's listen again on number 2.
People should move out of the city.
Okay, so 2 here. So why are so many people moving out the city to find a new life in the country? Is it life in the country is so much easier in the town? So can you hear that these are the questions that the interviewer, she is asking she's asking the question, and then she is going to interview a person, maybe some people.
When we interview people who are thinking of moving,
Okay, when we interview people who live in the city and live in the country, can you hear that?
Yes.
Yes, so they are in a radio program on TV. Okay, like MC, you know, MC and the interviewer. Okay, so the second person is advertising a radio program. Advertising here, do you understand what advertising mean?
No.
Okay, so advertisement a radio program, which means a program. This is a program. Okay, so that is easier for you to understand, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's really lovely where I live. Trees and hill just behind my house. It's like a quiet life. It's a great place to live. But one disadvantage is that life is a bit boring here.
Okay, so one disadvantage is life is a bit boring here. Okay.
There isn't much going on in the village. There aren't many young people around. So I can go to the city at weekends with my friends. It isn't far, and there's always something to do there.
Okay.
One day,
So he is complaining about the place that he lives, because there's not many young people live here, and
is that life is a bit boring.
so the first reason that he complains about the place that he lives is life is a bit boring. Okay, so life is a bit boring.
There isn't much going on in the village.
Okay, there's much going on in the village.
There aren't many young people around.
There aren't many young people around. Okay.
So I go to the city at weekends with my friends.
So there aren't many young people around. So he often goes to the city with his friends to play. Because so he mentioned some reasons that there isn't much to do where he lives. There are not many young people. There isn't much. There's not much going on to do. Like he wants more to play, to hang out with friends, but there isn't much to do in his place. So he is complaining about that.
Yes.
Okay, so C is so the third person complains that there isn't much to do where he lives.
Something to do.
Okay, so what I really hate about the town is it is very busy, noisy, and dirty. So busy, noisy, and dirty. There's some reasons that she doesn't like the life in the town. So let's listen, let's continue. Okay, so that's it for the last speaker. Is that
Yeah.
clear for you for the last one? Is that clear? So she explains that the life in the town is busy, is noisy, is dirty. So that's the reason that she doesn't like the life in the town. So she is trying to explain that. So that would be number 4.
Yeah.
Here, okay. Okay, so that's it for this listening part, and these are the transcript of the listening part. And we're going to move to the last part of listening, which is answer the questions here. So you are going to answer 3 questions below by using the phrases here to help you. So the first question is, what are the advantages of living in your town or village? So you can answer, one of the advantages of living in my village is that the street is very clean and the people are more friendlier, or the air is very fresh, and the life is the life in my village is quite peaceful and quiet. So these are the advantages of living in my village. Okay, so you can say an advantages of living in the blah 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 is that there, and a disadvantage is that blah blah blah. It's good that you can blah blah blah. It isn't good that you can't blah blah blah. So these are some phrases, some sentences that you can use to answer the questions here. So for the first question, what are the advantages of living in your town or village?
An advantage of living in my village is that there are people is friendly.
Is that people are very friendly, very friendly. Okay. Anything else? The people, you mentioned about the people. How about the air, the atmosphere, and the street?
The street is
The street, you can say the street is clean and quiet, or something like that.
the street is quiet. Yes, quiet.
So the street is quiet, people are friendly, Okay,
Yes.
so what are the disadvantage?
A disadvantage is that the air are
The air is
pollution.
there are much air
Um,
pollution. You mean air pollution, or you can say the air is polluted, or there are much air pollution.
much air pollution.
Okay, good. Would you like to live somewhere else? Why or why not?
Um, Tức là nó hỏi bạn sống ở đâu hả cô?
Yes.
Um,
Say I like to I would like to stay. You have two choice to answer. The first choice is you can say I'd like to move to another place, or you can say I'd like to stay where I live now. Is that I don't want to live somewhere else. I just want to stay where I live now. You can choose one of these answers.
I'd like to move to the town
I like to move to a town because
because it's more have 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 many shopping mall.
yes, because there are more shopping malls in the town.
Yes, more shopping mall in the town.
Yes, and you can do what can you do in the shopping mall or in the town?
I can buy some food or drink.
You can. You mean you buy food and drink in shopping mall?
I can buy some clothes.
Yes, some more beautiful clothes in the shopping malls. And that's the reason that you would like to move to the town. Okay, so in conclusion, I would like to move to the town because there are more shopping malls in the town. And it's good that I can buy more beautiful clothes when I live in the town. Or I can go to some more relaxed and beautiful places in the town to chill with my friends, and that is also one of the reasons that people want to live in a town. Okay, so that is the last task of our listening part would be so in listening parts you need to remember one key point of the listening strategy is that you don't have to listen all the details, just listen to the keywords. And we have some structures when we answer the questions like would you like, and we're gonna say I'd like, or we know more about the advantages and disadvantages of living in the town or living in the country. So we have more vocabularies for new words for today's lesson. So that is all for the listening part. So now we're going to move on to the next part, which is reading. Can you see my share screen about the reading?
No.
Nope. Can you see it now?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so so we're going to move on to the reading part about unusual cities. Today we're going to discover some unusual cities. And after this reading, I hope that you can understand a text about unusual cities. So that is the topic of our reading part today. So first of all, let's look at the photos here. Can you see that?
Yes.
We have two photos. And do these cities look like good or bad places to live? For the first picture, is it good or bad place for people to live?
Is it a bad place for the
Yeah.
people to live?
Exactly. So because there are so much slum and trash, so people cannot live here. So that is very dirty. That's very dirty, and it's definitely a bad place to live. And for the next picture, is it good or bad place?
It's good
It's good place. Why?
because it have no slums or trusts.
Yes, it has no slums or trash, and it is also has botanic garden. This is botanic garden. So botanic garden, which the garden that has a lot of trees and a lot of plants that people grow it. So this is a botanic garden, and the air is also clean, and the atmosphere is also fresh. So it's really a good place to live. Okay. So so the first one, we're going to learn some vocabulary. Okay. The first word that we have today is inhabitant.
Inhabitant.
Good. Inhabitant. Inhabitant is a person or an animal that lives in a particular place. It means a person or an animal that lives in a particular place. So the Vietnamese meaning is, if it is people, it would be like this. Or if it is an animal, it would be the meaning of the animal. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the next one we have is salary.
Salary.
Okay, salary is the money that people receive for doing the job, especially professional employees or people working in office. The salary is the money that people receive after working for a company or for a particular place. So it would be
okay.
So can you pronounce this word for me?
Salary.
I can hear the sound. Mm.
Is
It's,
it too small?
there is no
Salary.
salary.
Okay, salary. The next word we have is an adjective, is unusual.
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 Yes, unusual is means it is different from what is usual or normal. So unusual means it's not normal. Okay.
Yes.
And the next word we have is man-made.
Man-made. Man-made.
Man-made.
Man-made is made by people. It is not natural. People make it. Okay. Man-made material is the thing that is the material that people made it, and it is not natural. The next word we have is
Apartment. Apartment.
Apartment.
apartment. Apartment is a set of rooms for living in one floor of a building. Okay, so the next one we have is
Rubbish.
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 Good. Rubbish is like the trash. The things that people throw away because they no longer want to need or want them or need them anymore. So it would be the trash. So the last word we have is
Continent.
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 So
Continent.
so the British people would say continent, but we usually say continent. Continent.
Continent.
Yes, the continent is one of the large land masses of the earth, such as Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, or Antarctica. So it would be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 4 ways. The first one is north.
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 Can you say sa?
North.
North. That would be so hard for some people. Okay, so sa. Your tongue is between your teeth. Sa. Yes. So we have north. So
North.
so the opposite of north is south.
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 Okay. The next word we have is east.
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 East and
West.
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 West. Okay, so north. Do you know what north means?
Yes.
So north, you know south?
Yes.
Do you know east?
No.
It is east is where the sun rise. Okay, so west is opposite of east.
Yes.
Okay, good. And we have some continents. We have North America, we have South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and Antarctica. Okay, can you say for me the word North America?
North America.
North America.
North America. We have South America.
South America.
South America.
South America. We have
Europe.
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 Europe and
Africa.
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 Asia.
Asia.
Okay.
Oceania.
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 Yes, Oceania. And this one is
Antarctica.
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 Yes. So can you name some countries in North America? Do you know? Do you know which countries are in North America? We have Mexico, North America, Canada,
Yes.
and America. Do you know what countries are in Asia? Asia.
Is Asia.
Yes.
Asia.
Our country.
Rồi có Asia là gì?
So you don't know what Asia means. Asia is
It's had Việt Nam.
Vietnam. Vietnam, China, Korea, Japan. It has a lot of countries in Asia, but we're going to discuss this one later on. Okay, so I think we have a lot of different tasks to do. So we're going to save the reading part in the next lesson. On Saturday, we're going to work out with these exercise. Okay, so today's lesson is just about a little bit of new words, about the new words of unusual cities, and from reading strategy and some reading passage, we're gonna work out with this on Saturday. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, so our lesson is coming to the end. So see you next time, and remember to do your homework. Okay, goodbye. See you later.
See you next time.
See you.